I'm still trying to figure out how to tell my grandkids that there's a toilet paper shortage from some asshole eating bat soup.
On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, we have plenty of ammo. The Walmart HAZMAT attack. New Orleans bans gun sales, and Freeze has it. Crack AIDS.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Danny, Marky, and Freeze, and this is episode 166 of the John 1911 podcast. And I have to warn the listeners that Freeze is on his deathbed, but no worries, he does not have coronavirus. He's been diagnosed with crack AIDS. So,
well, if he's gasping, I'm not giving him mouth to mouth.
You're gonna get someone to wipe that shit off you, Lippy. You ain't gonna make
it. Man, I'll tell you what, it's been a rough 5 days.
Well,
yeah, when we did our last podcast, it was coming on, you know.
Yeah.
And man, it just hit me hard. You know,
so when I saw you over at Shooters to pick up the 9mm 1911, how long after that did you get sick?
Like, what was that, Thursday?
I don't even remember.
It was like the next evening.
Okay, that might have been Tuesday. So
Tuesday, I don't remember. One day has blended into the next. I mean, I've been laying around. I mean, like I haven't been to work in the last 2 days.
Well, I mean, you know, you're not to rat you out, but you're famous for working sick because you're irreplaceable. Basically, you have to be on like a heart monitor in a hospital for you to get off work. So,
you know, actually, that's about true. But
that is true.
But you know, it's just one of those things where, frankly, with all the coronavirus things going on, I don't know if anyone actually wants to see me at work right now.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like look, everybody listens to this podcast knows this. You know, look, you're a smoker, you know, you've been around the world, you kind of have a dry cough just kind of normally. And I was like, dude, Freeze is in for it. He's going to get hammered just because just normal people are going to think you have it.
Well, I was at the store the other day, and at this time of year, these seasonal allergies, they kick my ass. And I sneezed due to the allergy. I swear people let out like it was the run for Cocoa Marsh. It was insane.
Grandma almost shanked you.
Over a roll of toilet paper.
Yeah. So you were saying off pod, or you were saying before we went live that you were like, I'm trying to figure out how to tell my grandchildren why eating a bat in China means we all don't have any toilet paper. And,
yeah, the analogy's just not there.
Well, I have the way to explain it. It's really simple because, you know, look, I've said this before. I don't know if I said it on pod or not, but I'll say it again. Look, my family's from West Virginia, Appalachia. Everybody gets a turn of getting made fun of. You know, the Polish get made fun of. The French get made fun of. You know, the ugly American around the world gets made fun of. Now it's China's turn. And here's the thing. China's they're kind of like the hillbillies of the planet right now. Because, I mean, look, in their defense, you know, if you don't, you know, stand up for yourself and like take what's yours, you won't even get a scrap of food at the table in China. So they can be kind of brash and, you know, they can shit in the street and behave in all kinds of hillbilly ways. But here's the thing. At least my hillbilly ancestors in West Virginia, if we were going to eat a bat, we would deep fry that motherfucker. You know, that's the thing. I mean, you know, nobody cares if you want to eat a frickin' three-toed sloth. Just like every other hillbilly, deep fry that sumbitch. Stop eating this shit like, you know, in a soup.
Well, now, Marky, you're being politically insensitive. You're not supposed to say, according to the liberals, you know, the virus didn't come from China. They're not Chinese hillbillies. You have to watch, you know, your political correctness here.
My meeting with Rachel Maddow for her to sponsor the podcast just got canceled. Thank you. Okay. Yeah,
But, you know, Speaking of deep frying, I saw a pretty hilarious meme the other day. It said 192 people die of coronavirus and everyone loses their shit. 500,000 people die of heart disease a year, and we put fried chicken in between two donuts.
Hey, West Virginia is the only state that does not have a case of COVID-19 yet.
Dude, you know what? I own property in West Virginia, and I keep wondering at some point if it's going to make my property values increase.
Must be the water or something.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm gonna. From a world traveler standpoint, I have not seen. That's not true. I haven't. Yeah, I have. I was gonna say I haven't seen Chinese people in West Virginia, but that I have. So, that is interesting, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I think that's probably they just haven't detected it. But is that still true as of this morning, Danny?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I was just on the COVID-19 reported sightings, or whatever you want to call it, in West Virginia is still the Lone Star with nothing there.
Well, last night on Twitter, or yesterday, I made a joke because the governor of West Virginia, I know him. His name is Jim Justice, Big Jimmy, and he's a big man. And he's a good old boy, and he did a public service announcement. And, like you see the public service announcements like the governor of New York, and he's talking about bending the curve, and he's talking about all this stuff. And the governor of Ohio's like, we're going to be shutting this down. We're going to shut down the Arnold Classic. We're going to limit to 50. Then we're going to limit to 10. And we're only going to do carryouts. And you have all these other different places. They're having these long kind of drawn out press conferences with details and epidemiological reports and predictions. The governor of West Virginia was given a press conference, and he goes, look, if y'all want to go to the grocery store, go to the grocery store. And he said, if y'all want to go to Bob Evans, go to Bob Evans. And he's given his press conference, and there's even like a sign language person next to him. And I'm looking at that person going, yeah, when I went to sign language school, I knew one day I was going to be big time and I'd get to do a commercial for Bob Evans on national television. It was just interesting to see like New York and Ohio and some of these other governors. And, the governor of West Virginia, all he's talking about is grocery stores and Bob Evans.
Well, the governor of West Virginia says go to Bob Evans. The governor of Ohio shuts Bob Evans down.
Yes. They did it in Illinois also.
Oh, yeah. You had told me, Danny, you had reached out and said, hey, they just shut down all the stuff in Illinois. And then I got a call from the office saying they just shut down all the stuff in Ohio. And I was like, oh, shit, okay.
Did you see what I just sent you, speaking about shutdowns, of what the mayor of New Orleans is doing and usurping power?
They're real bad. Let me see here. Let me open this up. You sent something on Facebook, and I don't know if New Orleans mayor issues coronavirus order allowing ban on gun sales. Boy, New Orleans, they just love to fucking do that, don't they?
There's a few other towns.
They've done that in the past, though, haven't they?
They did that during Katrina, and I think it got overturned.
Yeah, I think so.
How could that possibly stand? Yeah, unless they're making hay while the sun's shining. I can't figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah, I don't. Well, okay, all right. Let me tell you this. So, Freeze, you were over at Shooter Supply, and that's kind of like the FFL that really kind of takes care of us. Not that we're not open to other FFLs. Hey, if you want to support the John 1911 podcast, we'd love to have a relationship with you. But I reached out to the owner of Shooter Supply about something, and I just sent him a text message, and I'm like, hey, you got a minute to talk? And he's like, I got a minute. He says, we're slammed. He's like, we've been selling more stuff. And I was like, do you have any, because to that point, I didn't realize the gun stores were getting slammed. And I remember being in there, being surprised, seeing a big pile of 40 caliber ammo. And I said, you still have any ammo? He's like, some. I go, do you still do you still have that 40? He goes, yes. Nobody's buying the 40. Just like the last run.
Wow.
Well, but actually, because huh?
I said, I bet he don't have any 9 though.
No, they normally don't stock a lot. We don't get ammo through them because we order too much. As a matter of fact, like I was due to do an ammo replenish, for the range. Yeah, not that we're running out of ammo. Like we've got, I don't know, I've got 3,000 in the truck, but and there's some in the armory. But it was like, well, I wanted some 62 grain to do some testing with that integrally suppressed upper because I suspect the lighter ammo is why it doesn't work well. And then there was I don't know, like I saw some kind of 124 grain, a 9mm. So I put in an order for a couple thousand rounds. We're just gonna go up there and pick it up. Well, I got this email from them saying, hey, we're gonna be limiting the amount of people on pickups. Don't bring any extra friends. Don't park on the street. We're gonna have parking attendants to help you. And I'm looking at this going, what the fuck? And I realized they're also a retail FFL, and they must have everybody from all around, the counties coming in there to buy stuff.
Yeah, I got the same email.
I sent my contact. I sent him an email last night, and I was like, "Hey, dude, we don't, this is just our replenishment, because we've secured the ammo. Like we don't physically have it, but we've got it in the system." And I said, I just said, "Hey, look, we don't need this ammo today. If you want to unwind the order so you can sell this retail, that's fine. Or if you would prefer, maybe once it dies down, I can just pick it up next week or something." And so we'll see what they decide. But I just didn't realize that even that place would have lines out the door. So
yeah. Well, it's probably like the toilet paper and paper towel scare. Everyone is just stocking up needlessly. That's to be seen.
Well, there were stories coming out of L.A. Like there's gun stores in like the San Fernando Valley, and there were lines to get into gun stores, and I'm like, I just couldn't imagine, like, I don't know, living life where like, oh my god, I got to go buy a gun or I got to go buy some ammo. Like, wow, talk about living in. If I would want to put on a coronavirus mask and go up and down that line outside of a gun store in LA with a microphone and a camera and ask these people who they are. Like,
but see, things like this are good for guys like you and me, because when scares like this pop up and all these people run out to buy masks, guns, and ammo, and then 2-3 months from now, when this all dies down and they realize that, the apocalypse is not here, and then they start having buyer's remorse, we get good deals.
That's true.
Yeah. Number one, the deals, like, do we need cheaper ARs? So people, like, if you're lined up outside of a gun store in California right now, and you're like, I want to buy an AR or I want to buy a pistol, okay? And you're not the first one there. You're either buying a $3,000 gun or a $300 gun. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting a Glock. You're getting either shit or full custom.
Excuse me.
And, does the world need discounts on more shit guns? I can't figure out the ammo situation, if this is going to be a long-term disruption, kind of like getting 22 long rifle was for a while, or if this is, if this is going to die down. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Are people, when people go to the gun store, like they're buying ammo, are they buying a box are they buying a gun that holds 10 or 15 rounds and then buying a box of 50 rounds just so they can have a gun to fight off the zombies? Or are they buying 3,000, 4,000? I suspect they're probably buying a box.
Well, and I suspect right now the gun stores aren't selling them 1,000 rounds at a time. They're probably rationing it out to where if you buy a gun, they're selling you maybe a box or
at an inflated price, I'll bet.
Oh, sure, but
well, my deal alert that we buy bulk ammo from for the range, our prices were inflated. the markets hadn't crashed yet either.
Yeah, but we're also a regular customer. And where we buy ammo from, they don't.
Hold on.
They're not your normal.
Hold on. You're kind of making shit up because I ordered it through the computer system. The computer doesn't give two fucks who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that doesn't. Like I don't think they're jacking up the prices. I mean, like our dealers are not. I mean, I just don't. I don't see it. I'm not saying it's not out there. And that's also part of the reason why I was like, well, maybe we should let this ammo go. You know, like here's the thing: if I show up at this wholesaler to buy thousands of rounds of ammo at a super cheap price, and I'm standing there in front of like 100 people, you know, and they're paying $80 a box, it might start a goddamn riot. You know what I mean? It's like, do I want to do that?
That's why you don't park on the street.
Well,
that's what, you know, that's not tactically sound, you know. It's like, okay, I mean, I kind of had my head in the sand as far as what was going on with the gun stores. I just didn't even realize that was an issue.
Yeah.
Like, I knew the toilet paper thing was going on.
Well, you know, I've been making a killing. I've been selling rolls of toilet paper out of my back door after dark. No lights, cash only. It's been pretty lucrative. So I'm not complaining.
Well, let me tell you this. Here's a story. So in the armory, we order, you know, like as you order toilet paper for the bathrooms, and you order, you know, cleaner, and you know, it was on like an automatic order system, and we screwed up. I didn't screw it up, but it's ultimately our responsibility. And like I noticed it last year. It's like, why do we have so much goddamn toilet paper? Somebody was ordering what we would use in 2 months. And we were getting it like every 3 weeks. And I noticed it took me a hot minute to realize, like, we had enough toilet paper to probably last for 4 years. We had paper towels I don't even know how long the paper towels would last, but it was nuts. And then we had like toilet bowl cleaners. Like we still have, I bet you we have enough toilet bowl cleaner to last a decade. And so I turned all that off last year to try to run the stuff down. So with that being run down, I did it. I was like, well, how much toilet paper do we have right now? And we have 72 rolls of toilet paper right now. And we have like paper towels. We have, like 6 or 8 cases of paper towels. And that's running it down.
Wow. That's a lot of inventory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, somebody had the foresight. Yeah.
And I noticed
somebody in your office had the foresight to see the eclipse coming.
Yeah, somebody ordering and not know, how the fucking Amazon thing works, and so we just, we can save some money by doing repeat orders. Just place that order, repeat, and be like, it comes every couple of weeks, and it was kind of crazy. So, I mean, not people to hear about my toilet paper problem, but I've had a toilet paper problem for months now. Oh, did you hear about the guys? I thought they were in California, but I guess they were in Tennessee. I guess they saw this coming, and they bought 17,700 bottles.
I seen that. I actually read the story.
Yeah, that is that. You know what? I am so glad that they're. Right now they're whining because they have no way to sell it and make money.
Well, the government, or I guess there's some kind of law on the books there that says you cannot resell hyphenated medical supplies for a vast profit. Well, supposedly this guy makes his living for years buying cheap, selling high on Amazon. Well, Amazon has since pulled his credentials. The state of Tennessee has came in and said, hey, you're not going to do this or that. So supposedly he donated 3/4 of his stash to the church and the state of Tennessee.
Well,
okay.
The thing is that apparently I didn't know all that. I knew there were some issues there. Like I knew Amazon or somebody shutting down. But that arbitraging that is a business. Like people that buy shit from China on Alibaba and bring it in shipping containers, and then sell it online. That's, I mean, thousands of people do that.
Yeah.
That's for how a lot of that stuff gets into the country. I mean, like, that's how a lot of milsurp stuff gets into the country.
Yeah, but apparently this guy went around the entire state buying up stocks. As soon as he heard that there was an issue with this, he jumped the gun before everyone else and went around and started buying up like wipes and hand sanitizer and cleaning off shelves. So he wasn't like buying bulk from China.
Well, can you blame the guy for being enterprising, or would you call that capitalizing?
Well, you know,
we are a free market society.
You know, I mean, here's the problem that I have with it. I don't have a problem with him being, you know, capitalistic and being the first guy on the block to do it. But when you buy a bottle of hand sanitizer for, say, $1 and want to turn around and sell it for 10, I mean, you know, that is kind of like, I mean, you know, that is profiteering. I mean, you know,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it like this. Look, I mean, there's a reason why you in the free market system you have to have some controls. You have an umpire that does call balls and strikes sometimes to kind of, you know, that you had that after the stock market manipulations, people pump and dump and do all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing: people that have a problem. And I'm not saying I even support this guy because it's like really not helpful, but I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are. Like maybe he bought it for $1. He wants $50 a bottle. I don't know what he wanted.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Anybody that has a problem with those numbers would be screaming if they knew how much profit the average business makes on a big gulp drink that they buy, because that's where all these restaurants make their money. They don't make their money on food. They make it on beverages.
Mm-hmm.
Like you buy a giant thing of pop, or you buy a thing of alcohol, and you spend whatever, like I don't know, $1 or you know, or $7 or $8 on some alcohol. The profit margin, like on pop, like let's say you spent $2.99 on a big gulp of something. It probably costs that restaurant what 8 cents to make that, because they buy it in syrup and spritzer and whatever and make it.
Yeah,
the markup,
the profit margin on fountain drinks are usually in the neighborhood of like 80%.
Wow.
Oh, I bet it's more. I bet it's more than 80%. I bet it's probably. I bet it's probably like 700%. I bet you
it's sir. I know these numbers. It's like 80%.
Okay.
Now, but here's the thing. Coffee, it's like 99 point. It's virtually 100% profit margin on coffee. Think about that when you go to Starbucks and pay. It's Starbucks, it's probably about a 700% profit margin. If you go to like UDF or BP to get a cup of coffee, it's virtually like 100% profit margin on coffee. It's ridiculous. But if you go to a coffee shop, oh, it's crazy.
Well, coffee's kind of similar to water because it was so cheap because there was so much of it. You know, the idea back in the 50s, you know, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to sell people bottles of water. You're like, why? You know, like, I'm going to go to boutique. I'm going to sell people $8 cups of coffee. People are like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Freeze,
they're doing it now.
Freeze, you are 100% correct, because let's just say I personally know a coffee manufacturer's son whose last corporation name is Brothers. He's actually a friend of mine, and yeah, the profit is that high. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'd like to equate that to if somebody were to eat a $50 or $60 steak at the Capitol Grill. I'll bet you that damn steak only costs $10.
Yeah.
Well,
without going into too much information.
Hey, speaking of people that are price gouging and are kind of like manipulating the markets right now, this just came across the news wire. Alex Jones has been ordered to stop selling a toothpaste marketed to stop as a cure to coronavirus.
That's awesome.
That guy is either crazy or a genius, and I just don't even know. I don't like.
It's like a combination of both. He's like a mad genius.
Well, how much can the government actually step in and stop people from making money, be it a pandemic or be it anything? How much regulation can there really be?
There's FTC regulations, but also when it comes to public health, and people are kind of realizing this, and this has always been understood. This has been set by precedent for a long time. The federal government has enormous power in the name of public health and war to do things. Like, they're throwing around these ideas of, we're shutting down the bars. Freedom of assembly. No, fuck you. It's the Black Plague. We're shutting down the fucking bars. We're going to shut down travel across state lines. You can't do that. Actually, we can. You can sue us. But in times of of severe major military or health disturbances, the government has enormous power to do some crazy shit. They haven't done it really that much, but people are
speaking about crazy shit. So. I have a little bit of a political insight for you. Did you see how the House Democrats were trying to advance that Corona funding bill, but yet then Trump beat them to the punch? He stepped in and declared the national emergency, which automatically freed up the $50 billion. But in the Democrats' House bill, Pelosi had slipped in, now tell me how this has to do with the coronavirus, funding for abortion clinics and backdooring Hyde Amendment laws.
– Refresh my memory on the Hyde Amendment. What was the
that you cannot use federal funds for abortions.
Now, how does Planned Parenthood get around that?
That has been the debate forever, because only they're not a per se one-stop abortion shop. They have women counseling. They have this. They have
that's
that.
Right. They're women's health organization. They supposedly do mammograms
but
and all that.
My question is, how does any type of abortion funding or Hyde Amendment have to do with the coronavirus? What am I missing?
Well,
pork.
Yeah, it's
pork.
Pork. It's politics. Yeah. It's they want to. Look.
Well, they do that.
Let's be real.
Bills. There's.
Well, hold on. Let's be real. I think it sucks, and I think Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are actively rooting for chaos. Which I think is ugly. However, if the roles were reversed and they were doing, Republicans were in the minority, or Republicans were in the House, and it was a Democratic president, and they were going to have funds to fight the coronavirus, and they slipped in a clause that said we're going to overturn the Hughes Amendment. How much would you and how much would we be screaming and hooting and hollering about what does this have to do with coronavirus? Because the Republicans, their argument would be, well, people need as many guns as they can get. And there's all these guns that people can't get right now, and we could be helping people, so we got to just get rid of all this shit. Here's a bill, slip this in, no more 922, no more Hughes Amendment, everything's on 4473.
Speaking about political, did you see what Bill Maher said on his show last night?
No, I don't know.
He
I don't have
is actually rooting for a full-blown recession so Trump will fall flat on his face and the Democrats can regain control. He would rather see people in a recession that just to have the Democrats regain power.
Oh, but he's been rooting for that kind of thing because the Democrats have been saying a recession's coming for a year, and he's been saying stuff like that.
Oh, and I'm a firm believer that the news media is, I mean, the news media obviously is making the coronavirus thing. I'm not downplaying the coronavirus, but they're actually, hyping it up more so than needs to be. And I know they're doing that on purpose because, I truly believe they want to crash the economy to hurt Trump. Because, look, they've tried everything in their power the last 3 years, including impeachment, to get rid of Trump, and they can't do it. And they know that they're going to take an ass whipping in November between the House and the presidency. And the only way right now that they have a shot at it is to destroy the economy and to and hurt the nation bad enough to where in November they might have a chance.
I agree.
But
well, think about that. The Democratic Party is supposed to be for the working man. It's supposed to be for the poor. It's supposed to be for the downtrodden and the oppressed and all the disenfranchised groups. And, look, Nervous Nancy and all her wealthy coastal friends and all those elite people in Washington and the people in New York and the elite people on the coast in California, they're not going to be hurt by this.
No.
But they will actually want to hurt their constituents so they can regain power.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see if Trump is going to let them get away with that argument. Well, that's the thing about Trump versus like Mitt Romney.
And this is what I was saying to someone the other day. This coronavirus isn't going to last till November. It's not going to last all summer long. This thing's going to go away just like everything else does. And at the end of the day, if this turns out to be a fizz, and I'm talking about like, if like, let me put this, let's say less people die of corona than they did the N1H1 or bird flu or all the other pandemic uprises that no one lost their shit over. If that makes sense, because everyone's making this to be the worst thing ever. But if this turns out not to be the worst thing ever, and this thing goes away, and by April it's gone, or May it's gone, how's the media and how are the people on the left going to end up looking? Because what will happen is the stock market will rebound. Trump will come out on top again like he always does. But the point is, the Democrats that are in power that are making this thing out to be horrible, especially the media, how are they going to shake out?
They'll come up with another hoax somehow.
It's interesting because, like they're all talking about like any crisis. It's funny, the Democrats, especially Bernie and some of these folks, they're like, communism is always the answer. We need more communism. And like, we need single payer health care. Oh, we got to have universal basic income. Oh, we got to have all this stuff. And it's like, in Italy apparently has had all kinds of problems. And, I remember I saw a news report. Some of these people out of New York, they were trying to say that Italy has a world-class healthcare system. And I'm like,
no, they don't.
What the? That just came out of their mouth. It's like, well, have you ever fucking been to Italy? I mean, it's like, get the fuck out of here. I have. It's like they do not have a world-class healthcare system. Italy is Italy is a. I like Italy. Italy's probably my favorite place in Europe. It really is. I mean, I think the people are super nice. I think the food is good. I think the culture is good. Rome is wonderful without the Romans. That's a whole other conversation. But it's like, you don't go to Italy for healthcare. They have a single-payer healthcare system, and it's a wreck. And this quote, single-payer healthcare system that Bernie is and Hillary and all these people advocate for just collapsed in Italy. Like, it collapsed because that's what they have, and it cannot keep up because the government cannot run everything. The government can't make all these decisions. And these assholes keep pushing these agendas, and they're throwing up these headlines without any analysis behind it, just trying to trick people. It's ridiculous. And that is one good thing about Trump is, guys like Mitt Romney and George Bush and, whatever traditional Republicans, they let the media and the Democrats get away with this kind of stuff. But Trump, well, I guess once he gets done fighting this stupid virus, I guess
did
he's
you
going
see
to be
that
on
picture?
with that. So,
Have either of you two been to a store and actually seen the empty shelves?
Yes.
Okay, there was a picture, be
yeah.
in any supermarket, of the empty shelf, of the empty shelves or the sparse shelves, and the caption was, "This is what socialism looks like. Remember when you vote."
Yeah, and it's like, well, the only empty shelves I've seen are for like certain.
Well, there's
items.
no bread or milk around me to be had.
Yeah, but that also that gets replenished pretty quick too.
Yeah.
I mean, here's here's the thing. Like, okay, here's a clue. Like, okay, like let's have a real conversation here. So I had a conversation with the CEO of a major hospital group, and he was talking about flattening the curve and some of the issues that they're facing, and he said something that blew my hair back. What little I have left. I've been shocked. Americans, we won't buy dog food from China to feed our dogs. Okay. And, it's been all this, these revelations that, all these medications that people get, they're not made in China theoretically, but all the components to make all this stuff comes from China. And I had no idea. Like I knew that there were shit, like all these companies that have all this shit made in China. And I've predicted for years, I didn't predict coronavirus. I predicted a war or a revolution. And, your shit is in a factory on the wrong side of some line on some map, and you're not diversified and you're going to get hammered. And also I've even predicted at some point in the future, somebody will look at the back of a product and they'll say made in China. And politically, it'll be the same as saying made in Nazi Germany. And so, so this is how I'm setting this up. Now I come to find out, not only is, all the components for all these medications made in China, even antibiotics, apparently, like all of it for the whole world, at least for the United States. But the CEO of this hospital group, he said they're running out of like masks or like hospital gowns and like all these supplies. And he said, they were like, well, how long will it take you to get to replace these? He's like, that's the problem. He says they all come from China and everybody in the entire world is buying them. And said, we're probably not going to be able to get stuff for a while. And our fear is that's why if we get slammed, we're going to use up all of our supplies and we're not going to be able to do stuff. And, it's just like, I'm surprised there was never. CFIS is there's a governmental organization called CFIS, and it's it's a group at the State Department that basically determines whether foreign entities or foreign governments can either invest, buy, or move businesses in the United States or out of the United States based on our national security needs. Like, for example, China could never buy Lockheed Martin. They couldn't buy stock in Lockheed Martin, and they also couldn't move Lockheed Martin to China because it wouldn't pass a CFIUS thing. I'm shocked that nowhere in the history of this country that all this pharmaceutical shit didn't set off a CFIUS review. And I think when this is over, when we're through this, the party's going to be over in fucking China. Because here's the thing, even though Democrats and let's say Republicans, big business Republicans are like, yeah, we're going to keep making shit in China, and Democrats, they're giving us too much money, we're going to keep making shit in China. Here's the problem. Freeze is the CEO of, I don't know, some cell phone company or, some electronics company, or I don't know, maybe a company that makes a medical product. And Danny, you and I are on the board of that company, and because it's an American company. I don't care what the fuck Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump, or anybody says. When we have our board meeting, we're going to look at the CEO and be like, so what's our disaster recovery plan and diversification options moving forward so we don't get caught like this again? And there are going to be conversations like this in every fucking large international business once we get through this. because they're going to have to move a lot of this shit out of China. They're going to have to move some of it to Vietnam, move it to India. Why not Mexico? I remember there was a plan years ago to make Puerto Rico the pharmaceutical capital of America. But no, I guess why can't the Puerto Ricans, they're U.S. citizens, why the fuck can't they make fucking, components for fucking medications? Why is this shit in China?
Well, Marky, as you and I
bullshit.
both know, the medication shortage is real in this country. It is very real.
Yes, it is.
And a lot of folks depend on these medications for their lives, literally. And in my estimation, not only the economic thing, but China is actually winning a war without firing a shot.
China actually last week or late the week before actually theoretically postulated the idea of cutting off components for antibiotics to the United States just to hurt us. And here's the thing. There wasn't a goddamn media outlet in the U.S. that fucking ran that
that's
story.
What blows my mind. We have billion-dollar corporations like Squibb and McKesson and things. Why can't they bring the manufacturing back here?
They can. They won't because of
let's be real here, okay? Pick a business. I don't care. Widget business, and I have to compete with other companies that make the same widget, and we're all making our shit in China. I'm probably not going to be able to move my widget factory out of China into North Dakota because they're going to sell their shit for 50 cents and I have to sell mine for $3. No one's going to buy mine. I could, however, move my widget factory to India, to Vietnam, to Indonesia, to Mexico, to Puerto Rico, and all these other fucking places where the motherfuckers are just as fucking broken, need jobs. It doesn't have to be in fucking China. And it's like, that's what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. China, you're not, Indonesia's not, if you diversify, even look, this could have been a war. This could have been a nuclear exchange. It could have been a revolution. Let's say the Communist Party collapsed and now you have 3 fucking warlords killing hundreds of thousands of people in China. Nothing's getting out. And it actually would be worse. I mean, when this is over, China's trying to spin this. Have you heard the theories that China's trying to say, oh, yeah, the coronavirus was started by the U.S.
Yeah, Army. I've heard that, yeah.
And it's the reason China is doing this, and see, again, because, look, we're all trying to get through this right now. We're all trying to get through tomorrow and the next day and the next day. I've got employees that I'm letting work from home that, okay, if you can work from home, we can see if you work from home. I have other employees. I got some cleaning people. Yesterday it was hey, look, don't come in. One of them's pregnant. I'm like, look, we're just going to pay you. You're getting a paycheck. Just stay home. We'll figure it out later. And we're all trying to just survive. But what's going to happen is when this is all over, look, every flu season usually starts in China. And then on top of that, you have MERS, H1N1, bird flu, SARS. Look, every year into the future, the world, as soon as there's even a whiff of something, let's say it's 2024 or it's 2021. It's, next year. And oh yeah, there's looks like there's some weird virus that's now sprung up in Canton fucking province. That will no longer be a little blurb in the blotter, on the wire services. Immediately, you'll see countries all around the world go boom, boom, boom. They will shut down all trade with China. They will shut down air travel. They will shut down visas. And China's fucked because they're not going to be able to control the narrative unless they can convince the world that somehow this is a black swan one-time event that was done by somebody else and they were not responsible. And I don't see how that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
No, well, but they did keep a lid on this one before the information got released. Well,
they didn't keep a lid on it. They failed. It was we were seeing reports. Apparently, like the media in the U.S. will say that, oh yeah, this showed up December 31st, 2019. And like I remember hearing first reports of this in early December, like just, little itty bitty things. And apparently they're thinking that this first really blew up in China in November. I mean, China has not beat this yet. There's no telling, because China has a huge problem too. They were like, so they've had to shut down their cities and lock people in. Well, their economy's collapsing too. They have the same problem that we all do. And now they're letting people, they're like, go back to work. And well, unless there's a vaccine, all these millions of Chinese workers are going to start swapping this virus around again. That's what they're not telling you here in the U.S. Until there's a vaccine that people are taking, there could be another wave of this going to come out of China.
That's
yeah.
Well, think what that will do to the Chinese economy. I mean, they're playing hardball with gowns and masks and medicines and this and that, and their own people are dying within or whatever. It's like, won't they self-implode?
You mean like Gillum in Florida with the gay escort self-employed?
He resigned anything to do with politics. Did you see that?
Oh, like he had a choice.
Yeah. Well, what's that? The bigger they are, the harder. Did he have?
Stop. Give me the first bleep in the history of the John 1911 podcast, just because I don't want to fucking hear it.
What?
God almighty.
Your mind is in the wrong place.
Yeah. Well, it's like, look, like this story broke in meth. Like, it's scary that this guy almost became governor of Florida. But, like, I don't know. He tried to spin it. Like, I saw the story, and, Danny and I were talking about it. I don't know if I told you this, Danny, but I said, he's like, well, I went to a wedding. I had too much to drink. I didn't use any drugs. It's like, people go to weddings. I can see that. Well, here was the problem. This gay escort dude, or like this guy, and they're like, well, he's gay. And then, like, they said he might be an the cops put orgy in the report. And it was like, well, maybe it was a misunderstanding. But here's the problem. And this is the question that's going to be easily answered when he was trying to spin this. It's like, look, gay escort orgy dude people have friends. And it's like, all you have to do, it's like, oh, yeah, I went to school with Ray Ray. And Ray Ray grew up to be John Holmes. And, I know Ray Ray. You know what I mean? Like, all you have to do is look and be like, yeah, do these people know each other for an extended period of time? Are they really friends and just happen to be at the same place because of an event? And, everybody knows. There's always, some strange relationships just by virtue of school or growing up or whatever. And it's going to be pretty easy to figure out. If here's a picture of this dude with Gillum in like 12th grade, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be something there. Well, of course, the national news didn't do it, but somebody down there basically decided, I'm going to Google this guy's fucking name, and found his like gay escort fucking listing service. And there's no other connection. And these crazy photographs of this guy. I mean, the dude's fucking jacked, first of all. You're like,
speaking of weird alliances, which woman is Biden going to pick?
Oh.
Well, I talk too much. I'm gonna let Freeze. I'm gonna let Freeze hang himself first.
Go ahead, Freeze.
Oh man. I've thought about this. And I honestly have no clue. I mean, I really, really don't know, because I'm looking at it from my point of view, and I can't find any woman on the Democratic side of the ticket that will actually help him. I mean, I don't.
Well, when you're done, I'll give you my pick and why.
I mean,
I can give you guys the list that's being bandied about in the Democratic Party because I've got access.
Okay, throw me the list.
The 3 people that they're considering, and you got to remember when you choose a vice presidential candidate, you have to do one of 2 things. You either have to secure the nomination at the convention, which is part of what you do. For example, why Ronald Reagan chose George Herbert Walker Bush, because they were mortal enemies during the primaries, but they had to bring the party together, and Bush was a party guy and Reagan was an outsider, and so they came together and created the ticket. The list currently going around the Democratic Party is to either bring a state or bring votes at the convention. It's going to be Tammy Duckworth.
No, she's from Illinois.
And I think she's from Michigan. Amy, I think she's Tammy Duckworth.
Yes,
the woman who
Tammy
lost
Duckworth
her legs in the helicopter crash. Okay,
well, okay.
I'm going to have to confirm that. So, Tammy Duckworth. I've trust but verify. Tammy Duckworth, Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, and then there's a Hail Mary pass. There's a black woman in Florida. I think she's black. A black woman in Florida that was one of the impeachment prosecutors for Trump, named Val Demings, and she's pretty middle of the road. I think she used to be a police officer. She seems pretty smart, and so the argument is Tammy Duckworth's a woman, also from the Midwest. She could bring a state. Amy Klobuchar is considered, she's kind of like Biden. She's from the Midwest and maybe bring a state. Elizabeth Warren would be to secure the left wing of the party if they could do that. And then Val Demings is a kind of a woman that would appeal into the Midwest. So those are the 4 that are currently being bandied about. Obviously, Kamala Harris is in there too, but I don't know. Kamala Harris isn't going to bring you.
Kamala Harris isn't going to give you anything, and I don't think Elizabeth Warren will either. I mean, look, Elizabeth Warren's not going to bring him anything that a Democrat wouldn't already get. I mean, look, whatever Democrat runs.
Elizabeth Warren is to secure the party.
I don't know.
Well, Biden does not have the support of the left wing of the party, and he cannot choose Bernie as his vice president. I mean, the vice president is older than he is and just had a heart attack. He cannot choose Bernie. Bernie is a no-go.
Yeah, I don't think Warren's gonna do it for him.
Warren gets him through the convention. The other 3 people that I mentioned get him a better ticket.
I agree with that, Marky, and I'll tell you why. I think it's going to be Coach Barr for one reason. Minnesota is leaning swing state, and
it's purple.
I'm thinking that if he brings her, remember, whoever it is one step ahead, one heartbeat away from being president. I think that this is my opinion. I think that Biden is going to bring her and actually just shun the left wing. I really do. I don't, because the way that all these primaries have gone, and the moderate Democrats have voted everything for Biden lately, sort of shows that they do not want a liberal. So I'm thinking Biden brings something that will be conducive to him in getting an electoral vote over with it, and that's Amy.
Yeah, that's solid.
I think she's the safest pick. I don't think she's the best pick, but I think she's kind of like the Republicans choosing like George W. Bush to run, or like she's their Mitt Romney, she's their George W. It's like, whatever. I mean, no one's going to be happy inside the Democratic Party by picking her. But the reality is Joe Biden is not a healthy man. And the reality is his vice presidential pick is super important because that could happen, or he could become debilitated. But we're going long, and I have to end this with a great police blotter. And it also tied into the COVID-19 virus. Then we're going to wrap this one up. So obviously everybody knows about, toilet papers, people throwing down and, over stuff in the stores. Dude, excuse me. The best police blotter I have seen. This has got to be the number one for the thing. Man in hazmat suit storms Walmart, sprays merchandise with unknown substance. Authorities arrested a hazmat suit-clad man after he reportedly stormed a Las Vegas Walmart and sprayed merchandise with an unknown liquid. According to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the unnamed man allegedly entered the Walmart Saturday night wearing the alarming outfit. Upon entry, the man reportedly began spraying items at what seemed to be random. He then left the Walmart, but was tailed by a shopper who called police and reported the man's license plate. They've arrested the dude and put him under a mental hold. They're still trying to figure out what the hell he was doing. And I just thought that was awesome.
Have they figured out what he sprayed?
No, not yet. Well, the last I heard, I haven't followed up on it. This is probably 48 hours ago this happened. And, but this dude's crazy. And look, here's the thing. Like, this event that we're going through today is kind of like 9/11. And see, when people read this story, they're like, I would have stopped the motherfucker. Well, the reality is we don't know what's going on. It would not be unreasonable to walk into a store and see a dude in a hazmat suit. Maybe he's cleaning the shelves. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be obvious to you that, like, this was wrong. Because, there's so much bizarro stuff going on.
Yeah, that is
now.
true.
That's why, like, I love people today that try to rewrite history because, like, they knew how things were going to happen. Like, oh, yeah, we all knew on 9/11 X, Y, and Z. Like, when the first plane hit the tower, the first tower in 9/11, everybody was like, what kind of dumb fucking pilot fucking runs into a tower by accident? Like, they were like, was it? It didn't even occur to people it was on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like now, but we all know 9/11. And like now, oh, yeah, this story, some crazy lunatic person, it's like, oh, we're going to start locking up these crazy.
You could wear a mask legally and always remain unidentified.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, all my videos don't show my face, and look who's laughing now, bitches. So this wraps up episode 166 of the John 911 podcast. If you want to see any pictures or stories of anything we've linked to, but not my face, go to the John 911 website. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody,
see you later.
Have a good day.